Right now, in barns scattered across this country, in pastures most of us will never see, something is happening that defies every assumption we've made about these animals. It happens in the deepest hours of the night, when the world has gone quiet, when even the wind has settled, and when the only witnesses are the animals themselves. For generations, dairy farmers have whispered about it over coffee. Ranchers have written about it in journals they never intended to publish. And in the last 15 years, scientists have finally begun to confirm what the people who actually live alongside cattle have known all along. There is a window of time between roughly 2 and 4 in the morning when cows behave in ways that are not random, not accidental, and not explained by anything we used to think we understood about them. They do specific things. They do them consistently, and they do them whether anyone is watching or not. If you've spent any real time around cattle, you may have already seen one or two of these behaviors without knowing what you were looking at. By the end of the next 12 minutes, you'll never look at your barn the same way again. I'm glad you're here at Farm Animal Secrets. If this is your first time on this channel, take a moment now to subscribe, because the things we explore here, the hidden lives of the animals most people walk past every day, are the kind of stories that stay with you long after the video ends. Let's get into it. Behavior number 1. They stand in formation. Step into a barn at 3 in the morning, and you may notice something that doesn't quite register at first. The cows are standing. Not all of them, but more than you'd expect. And here's what no one tells you. They are not standing randomly. They are facing the same direction. For most of agricultural history, this was dismissed as coincidence. Some cows lie down, some stand up, the assumption went, and that was the end of it. But in 2008, a research team from the University of Duisburg-Essen in Germany decided to test something nobody else had considered. They used Google Earth satellite imagery to study the resting positions of more than 8,510 cattle across 308 herds on 6 continents. What they uncovered was published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and it sent quiet shockwaves through the scientific world. Cattle align their bodies along the Earth's magnetic north-south axis. Not occasionally, not loosely, consistently. Across continents, across breeds, across climates. A herd in Wyoming, a herd in rural India, a herd in the highlands of Scotland, all displaying the same orientation. This ability is called magnetoreception. It is the capacity to sense and respond to Earth's magnetic field. We had documented it in migratory birds. We had confirmed it in sea turtles and certain fish. Nobody, and I mean nobody, expected to find it operating quietly in the cattle standing in a pasture down the road. But here is what makes the 3 a.m. piece truly extraordinary. Follow-up studies that used direct nighttime observation rather than satellite data discovered that this magnetic alignment is at its strongest during the deep nighttime hours, peaking between 2 and 4 in the morning. This is when human activity collapses to nearly nothing, when ambient noise from highways and machinery falls silent, and when the herd appears to enter a kind of collective stillness that researchers are still struggling to fully describe. These cows are not asleep. Their eyes are open. They are standing in coordinated magnetic alignment, together, in silence, in the dark. And to this day, no one can tell you with certainty why. Behavior number 2. They grieve in the dark. This part is hard, but it has to be said, because it reveals something about cows that has been hidden in plain sight for as long as we have raised them. When a member of a herd is removed, whether through sale, death, or simple relocation, something measurable happens in the hours that follow. And the most intense moments of that response do not occur during the day. They occur at night. Dr. Daniel Weary at the University of British Columbia's Animal Welfare Program has dedicated more than 2 decades to studying the emotional inner lives of cattle. His findings, supported by parallel research at the University of Northampton in England, have documented something that the dairy industry rarely brings up in casual conversation. Cows form deep individual bonds. Not the surface-level familiarity of a herd, but specific, preferential, one-on-one attachments. They have, in every meaningful sense of the word, best friends. When that companion is taken away, the remaining cow shows clinical signs of distress. Cortisol spikes. Heart rate climbs. Vocal output increases dramatically. But the most striking discovery came from nighttime monitoring. The deepest expression of that grief does not happen right away. It surfaces later. It surfaces in the dark. Around 3 in the morning, The bereaved cow will often walk to the last spot where she saw her companion. She will stand there, and she will vocalize in a tone that observers describe as lower, longer, and slower than her usual calls. The pattern matches what we see in other mammals during separation distress. It matches what we see in elephants, in dogs, in ourselves. A dairy farmer from Vermont, who had been keeping detailed behavioral journals of her herd for over 15 years, once described stepping into her barn at 3 a.m. after selling a cow that morning. The companion of that sold cow was standing at the gate, facing the empty road, calling softly into the dark. She told me she walked back to the house and sat on the porch in tears, because in that moment she finally understood what she had done. She had separated two animals who loved each other, and the one left behind was searching for her friend in the only direction she had ever known her to go. If you've spent enough time with cattle, you already suspected this was true. But seeing it confirmed by science, learning that their grief follows the same biological signature as ours, changes something fundamental about how we are supposed to think about them. Behavior number 3. The voices they only use when they think no one can hear. Cattle are not silent during the day. They moo to call calves, to signal hunger, to communicate across distance. Those daytime sounds are familiar, well-studied, and reasonably well understood. What unfolds in the barn at 3 in the morning is something else entirely. A research team at the University of Sydney, led by Dr. Alexandra Green, conducted one of the most thorough acoustic studies of cattle vocalization ever attempted. Using high-resolution spectrographic analysis, they cataloged the individual voice signatures of every animal in their study herd. And what they found is one of those discoveries that quietly reshapes how you think about an entire species. Every cow has a unique voice. Not just a unique sound, a unique voice. Identifiable across emotional states. Stable across years. Distinct enough that, if you train the ear, you could pick one cow out of 100 without ever seeing her. But the study went further than that. When the researchers reviewed nighttime recordings, captured between midnight and 4 a.m. with minimal human interference, they found vocalizations that did not match anything in the daytime catalog. These were low, soft sounds. Some of them sat just below the comfortable range of human hearing. They were produced in slow, rhythmic patterns. And in many cases, they were synchronized between 2 or 3 cows standing near one another. The sounds carried no alarm tone. They had no connection to hunger. They were not triggered by any external event the cameras could detect. The working hypothesis, written with the careful language scientists use when they suspect something profound but cannot yet prove it, is that these calls may serve a social bonding function. They may be the acoustic equivalent of simply being together, of acknowledging another presence in the dark, of saying, in a way we don't yet have words for, I am here, and you are here, and that is enough. The closest human comparison, imperfect as it is, would be two old friends sitting on a porch late at night, exchanging a few words now and then, not because there is anything that needs to be said, but because the sound of each other's voice is itself the reason they are there. Your cows may be doing this tonight. Behavior number 4. They look up at the sky. Multiple independent observers, including both academic researchers and lifelong cattlemen, have reported the same phenomenon, and it remains one of the most stubbornly unexplained behaviors in cattle science. In the deepest hours of the night, individual cows will stand completely motionless, lift their heads, and appear to gaze at the sky. This is not a startle response. There is no sound preceding it, no predator cue, no environmental trigger. The animal simply raises her head, becomes still, and remains in that position for anywhere from 30 seconds to several minutes. Dr. Temple Grandin, who is widely considered the foremost authority on cattle behavior and sensory perception in the world, has noted that cattle possess remarkably wide visual fields, nearly 330 degrees of panoramic vision, with a heightened sensitivity to contrast and movement under low-light conditions. What they actually see when they tilt their heads up at a clear night sky, whether they perceive individual stars, the long brushstroke of the Milky Way, or simply the contrast between the heavy darkness of the Earth and the glowing field above it, we honestly do not know. But the behavior is real. It is repeated, and it is voluntary. Something about the sky at night holds their attention. And in a species we spent 10,000 years assuming was simple, that long, quiet upward gaze in the dark is one of the most humbling things a person can witness. Behavior number 5. They take turns keeping watch. Cattle do not all sleep at the same time. You have probably noticed it without ever questioning why. In feral and semi-wild herds studied across South America and parts of Europe, researchers have documented something that, once you see it, you cannot unsee. There is a clear rotational vigilance system operating during nighttime rest. While most of the herd lies down and enters a resting state, a smaller number of cows stay standing, positioned at the outer edge of the group, their bodies oriented away from the herd and facing outward into the dark. These are not random animals who happen to be awake. They are sentinels. The standing cows rotate. Over the course of the night, each individual takes a turn at the perimeter, then lies down while another quietly stands and takes her place. The rotation is not perfectly precise. It is not mechanical, but it is consistent enough across enough nights that researchers were able to rule out chance long ago. They are taking turns keeping each other safe. And here is the part that, when I first read it, stopped me cold. The cows that take the longest sentinel shifts, the ones who stand the most hours through the night, are almost always the oldest females in the herd. The matriarchs. They sleep less so the others can sleep more deeply. That is not blind instinct. That is not biology operating on autopilot. That is something that looks, by every measure we have, like responsibility, like care, like a quiet, ancient form of love that asks for nothing in return. What this all means, I want to leave you with something that goes beyond the research, even though it rests on every piece of it. We share our days with these animals. Many of you watching this are out in the barn before sunrise. You feed them. You name them. You know which one likes to be scratched behind the left ear and which one always pushes to the front at the trough. But what the science is finally beginning to confirm is that the relationship is not flowing in only one direction. They know you too. They recognize your face in a way we used to think they couldn't. They respond to your voice differently than to anyone else's. They anticipate when you'll arrive. When you are calm, they settle. When you are tense, they feel it. And when you treat them with kindness, they remember. And in those quiet hours when no one is supposed to be watching, they are not simply existing. They are aligning to forces we cannot see. They are grieving losses we never thought they could feel. They are speaking in voices we are only now learning to hear. They are looking at the same sky we look at and finding something in it that holds them still. They are guarding each other while the rest of the world sleeps. Before this video ends, I want to ask you something, and I really do mean it. Have you ever stepped into your barn in the middle of the night and seen something you couldn't quite explain? A cow standing somewhere she shouldn't have been? A sound you'd never heard before, low and soft, and not quite like a moo? A moment that froze you in place because you knew, somehow, that more was happening in that barn than anyone had ever told you? Share it in the comments below. Tell me what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. Because the people in this community, the ones who actually live alongside these animals, your stories are the ones that matter most. They are the stories the textbooks haven't caught up to yet. And every one of them helps someone else, somewhere, feel a little less alone in noticing what the rest of the world walks right past. Take care of your animals. They are listening for you, even now.